Tuesday, July 25th, 2017. You are listening to Inception Radio Network, voice of the fringe majority. This is Carol Carl with UFO Headline News. We can find Mercury and Regulus. Tonight they rendezvous at dusk. Here's the scoop from earthsky.org. If you've got a clear sky and that unobstructed western horizon, you might catch the furtive rendezvous of the planet Mercury and star Regulus tonight at dusk. It's not going to be easy, especially if you're in northerly latitudes. At mid-northern latitudes, like those in the United States and Europe, this twosome will follow the sun beneath the horizon somewhat more than an hour after sunset. Start your search an hour to 45 minutes after sunset. Undoubtedly, binoculars will come in handy for this challenging observation. If you're living in the southern hemisphere, you're going to have a much easier time catching Mercury and Regulus. They stay out later and closer to darkness in your part of the world. For instance, at the equator, which is 0 degrees latitude, Mercury and Regulus set about 1 3/4 hours after the sun does. In the temperate regions of the southern hemisphere, Mercury and Regulus set better than 2 hours after the sun. And here comes that old imaginary line method once again. There's a chart you can find later at ufoheadlinenews.com. And if you look at that chart and draw an imaginary line from the very bright planet Jupiter through the 25th of July moon, that points you in exactly the right direction to see the planet Mercury and Regulus. Jupiter and the waxing crescent moon will be the first two celestial bodies to pop into view right after sunset. Bruce McClure, who puts this together for the folks at earthsky.org, also adds this. If you do have a clear sky after sunset, July 25th, and you look and you see something, but that something you see is so near the sunset glare, it appears as a single star-like point of light, that point of light is probably going to be planet Mercury. This world shines over 2 times brighter than star Regulus, which is nonetheless a first magnitude star. Just know that the luster of both Mercury and Regulus will be subdued by the glare of that evening twilight. Should you miss the fleeting appearance of Mercury and Regulus at dusk, well, there are 2 consolation prizes, Jupiter and Saturn. Ready for the bottom line? Well, here 'tis. Tonight, July 25th, 2017, if you have a clear sky and an unobstructed western view, you might catch the furtive rendezvous of the planet Mercury and the star Regulus at dusk at evening. If all goes well, you can see 3 planets by nightfall, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn. So get out, look up, see what you can spy with your little eye. Speaking of things to spy in the sky, well, as promised yesterday, here's some stuff about the Delta Aquarid meteor shower going on right now, along with the Perseid. Interesting, lots to see up there. If you want to know when and how to watch the Delta Aquarid meteor shower, well, Bruce McClure at earthsky.org, he's a busy guy, brings us this. It's in the form of a question. When and how should I watch the Delta Aquarid meteor shower? Does this shower have a peak? 2 questions. It does have a normal peak, yes, late July. In 2017, it seems, the rather wide waxing crescent moon doesn't intrude on the peak. Those dates are July 27th and 28th. The moon will set before midnight, and as all true meteor watchers know, the best meteor viewing hours are after midnight and before dawn. For the Delta Aquarids, the best time is centered around 2 a.m., which would translate to 3 a.m. daylight saving time for all time zones around the world. The Delta Aquarid meteors tend to appear a bit fainter than the Perseids and meteors seen in other major showers. That makes a dark sky free of moonlight even more imperative for watching the Delta Aquarids. The Delta Aquarid shower is said to favor the southern hemisphere, but viewers at mid-northern latitudes will see plenty of these meteors. In years when the moon is out of the way, the broad maximum of this shower can be expected to produce 10 to 20 meteors per hour under a dark country sky, devoutly to be sought. About 5 to 10% of the Delta Aquarid meteors have persistent meteor trains, those glowing ionized gas trails that last a second or 2 after the meteor has passed. The meteors burn up in the upper atmosphere, about 60 miles, 100 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Watch for those lingering trains. And we'd like to toss in that if you catch a great shot of one of those lingering locomotives in the heavens, you can send that shot to the guys at earthsky.org. You might even end up in their gallery. Cool. You can find a link to do that later at ufoheadlinenews.com. You could help everybody out. And speaking of helping out, here's our next headline from Mashable with a byline for Marta Tessima. You can help NASA out during this summer's solar eclipse. Yep, that major solar eclipse will be taking place August 21st, and NASA needs your help when it comes to collecting data. It's something called the GLOBE program, GLOBE, and that stands for the Global Learning and Observation to Benefit the Environment program. It's an educational initiative supported by NASA. It's launched an app to encourage those along the path of the solar eclipse to help contribute their findings. With just a little bit of effort, you can participate in an actual scientific study. The solar eclipse will be seen across the continental United States, and during August's eclipse, NASA is intent on gathering information from folks across the country regarding how drastically temperatures will shift. You can register as a citizen scientist by downloading the free Globe Observer app. There will be links later at ufoheadlinenews.com, and grabbing a thermometer as suggested by the info on that app. There will be instructions, everything you need to know, laying out how to record and submit that information you gather. And that's cool stuff. We're figuring, gentle listeners, if you're listening to this broadcast, you've got the right stuff. So jump on in, go for it. Speaking of heavenly things seen in the sky, this time in Argentina, they knew what it was, but it was mysterious nonetheless. Here's the headline: Argentina, spectacular bolide stuns onlookers. We get this from Inexplicata, that lovely website, the Journal of Hispanic Ufology. The intensely bright light was seen in the heavens over many parts of the country. Theories emerged, and they now have the answer to what was it? It was a bolide. The skies over Argentina were illuminated for a few seconds, startling people who were able to see this from various parts of the country. They were thinking, what is this, a UFO? A shooting star? People wondered. But there was that other solution. Quote, it was a space rock, a bolide. These are rocks larger than the palm of one's hand, which disintegrate at high altitude as they enter our atmosphere, end quotes. That's an explanation from Jorge Coughlin. He's astronomer and board member at the Centro de Observadores del Espacio, the Space Watch Center. He continues, quote, given that it was a large rock, it can even light up the Earth as it enters the atmosphere, end quotes. This is the translation from Guillermo Jimenez and Hira Buenos Aires. Muchas gracias. A shift in trajectory now. Let's go to Australia, where we find this headline: Aviation experts at loss over apparent UFO. This is written by Bryn Kay out of the Manly Daily. Mystery surrounds a possible UFO sighting photographed by people in the northern beaches this month. From Narrabeen, Gus Madero captured a close-up shot of the bizarre object, and he was one of several witnesses at a loss to explain it. The Civil Aviation Safety Authority has also described this object as a, quote, mystery, end quotes. Mr. Madero was taking sunrise photos at Avalon's Bangley Head on July 5th, about 7 a.m., when his camera also captured a large white dot in the sky above the sun. Madero said the unidentified object looked to have, quote, 4 jet streams coming out, end quotes. He continued, quote, I've never seen anything like it. I can't really give you a definitive answer on what it was, end quotes. Gus Madero said the object, which was moving upwards, was most likely a satellite if he was pressed for a guess. From Cromer, Blake Hurst also took photographs of this object at a place called D.Y. Beach. Let's spell that D-E-E, second word, W-H-Y, beach. He, along with others at the beach at that time, said he noticed an object move from one side of the rising sun to the other before it disappeared upwards into the atmosphere. He said, quote, it's the strangest thing I've ever seen. I'm not one to believe in UFOs or ghosts or anything like that, but this makes you wonder. Some guy made a joke that it was the North Koreans sending a missile, end quotes. Asked if he thought it could have been a drone or a plane, Blake Hurst replied, quote, "The way it took off and shot up into space, it could have been a drone, but I don't know. It seemed it was going way too fast to be a drone. This was going faster than an airplane," end quotes. Hurst said it looked like lights were flashing on and off from this object. And in Belrose, a woman named Bernice Kampf also saw this object from her home. She believed it to be space junk. A spokesman for the Civil Aviation Safety Authority viewed photos of this object and said it was a mystery as to what it was. Quote, "At that time of the morning, the light often makes things look different than they are." These suspicious sightings come after someone else photographed a similar-looking strange light hovering above that morning sunrise back in 2014. So there's lots going on in the skies down under. Let's go up over Watlington in the United Kingdom, where we find this headline: "Bright white light over Watlington, Kings Lynn on July 21st, 2017. We picked this up from the website uk-ufo.com.uk. Location of the sighting, well, over Watlington, Kings Lynn. The time was 2:43 a.m. The witness has a name here, Daniel B. And here's what Daniel B. saw. Looking up into the clear night sky, I'm viewing stars, and I see a flash and notice a bright white light start moving across the sky. It moved like a star moves, but it would periodically disappear and alter direction by 90 degrees. It looks like it's just at atmospheric height, and then it goes off out of the atmosphere. And I see another one, the same, traveling in totally different areas of the night sky. When I observe this for a few minutes, then I can't see it anymore. And then, in one case, out of the east comes a very bright white light. It begins to move across the sky at a lower height, probably 1,000 feet. I watch this then go across from left to the right of me, about 3 minutes, totally silent. It wasn't a Chinese lantern, and it wasn't a helicopter. I've witnessed plenty of planes flying at usual plane altitudes and with numerous flashing lights. Anybody witnessing this would clearly have been able to differentiate between them. A UK mystery. Go back in time in your mind just a few days to the stories coming out of Cornwall, mysterious objects seen in various parts of that area and over the A30, a much-traveled road. Here's why we shouldn't be worried at all about that morphing UFO. That's the headline. It's from ScienceAlert.com with a byline for Jacinta Bowler. If you've been keeping up with the news in the United Kingdom, you might have heard about a morphing UFO appearing at a number of locations across Cornwall last week. And here's what she writes: "We're telling you guys straight up, this is not aliens, despite some hashtags on the footage. While it's a little annoying that we're not any closer to actual aliens, the footage itself," she says, "is pretty damn cool. And you can check out that footage later at ufoheadlinenews.com. So we already know it's not aliens, but what was it? Was it something called a bird murmuration, done by a special type of flock of starlings? A really, really big insect swarm? Neither of those things makes sense over the time frame, which had footage being uploaded over a number of days. Well, as both Twitter and Instagram commenters pointed out, unfortunately, it's nothing that cool. Instead, it appears that now it is a likely giant publicity stunt for something called the Eden Project, a botanical garden in Cornwall. Speaking to The Sun online, a spokesperson for that project said, "It's true we have a galaxy of ways to tell the story of space at Eden this summer," end quotes. And then they said, to coin a phrase, "the truth is out there," end quotes. If that spokesperson's words for the Space at Eden project this summer sounds familiar, we referred to it last week when we initially covered this story. Although we don't have much information to go on at this stage, it's now assumed that these videos have been doctored using CGI and released to a number of people to share a, quote, UFO sighting, end quotes. And then our writer adds, "Yeah, we're just as disappointed as you are. But if you want to see some incredible real footage, Check out this bird murmuration video taken by Jan van Eycken in the Netherlands.
If you have a Lowe's Advantage card, you can get an extra 5% off every day on items big or small. So you can save an extra 5% on a new coat of paint, updating appliances, replacing the flooring, and even save an extra 5% on little things like cleaning supplies, laundry detergent, and air filters. The big to-dos to the everyday essentials. You get an extra 5% savings every day when you use your Lowe's Advantage card. If you don't have one, apply today. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's. Subject to credit approval and can't be combined with any other credit offers. Exclusions apply. See store for details. U.S. only.
We're calling it now, she says. Nature beats publicity stunts any day. This broadcaster is personally gratified to even see a mention of the bird murmuration, something we had discovered online years ago, bookmarks now in someplace unknown. But at the time, we were stricken by the fact that these groups of birds could morph and twist and easily be mistaken for something much more mysterious and, alien. Let's jump across a lot of water now and hover over Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. That's the setting for MUFON sighting number 85328. The date of this sighting is 7/16/2017, submitted 7/24/2017. Here's the summary. UFO south over Surrey, heading towards Washington State. Sighting specifics offer a viewing distance over 1 mile. The altitude was over 500 feet without cloud cover. The sighting duration in this incident was 2 minutes. The object features unknown. Object flight path, hovering, then path. And this object is said to have been star-like in shape. Here's what happened. My wife and I went outside our home on 169th Street in Surrey. It was July 16th at 12 p.m. We were going to watch the aurora that was supposed to be visible in the metropolitan Vancouver area. At that point, we both spotted a glowing, circular, starlight craft. This craft was at a high altitude. The light was high to the east of us, and it appeared to be star-like. This craft, however, was moving at significant speed, and it was a solid glow. There were no blinking lights, and this thing was moving far too quickly to be a plane. The UFO made a swift move in what I can only describe as a sine wave formation. Once, it went up and down with incredible speed, and then it carried on its straight flight path before it vanished completely. Extraterrestrials wanting to watch the aurora as well? Just guessing. With a shift in trajectory once again, we're now in Florida, where a sighting happened over an unidentified city. It's MUFON case number 85329. The date of this sighting is 7/5/2016, but for some reason the witness didn't report it till this year on the 24th of July. The summary: noticed a cylinder reflecting light, too large to be a balloon, descending through clouds against wind, straight down slowly, or hovering. There is video that accompanies this report, and it's very cool footage. We would have thought this was just a planet, perhaps Venus, but then it moves. Sighting specifics include a viewing distance of 501 feet to a mile. The altitude was 500 feet or less. The sighting duration, 15 minutes. Object features, none. The flight path, unknown, and this object is said to have been shaped like a cylinder. This unidentified city in Florida that night had a maximum temperature of 93 degrees Fahrenheit, 34 degrees Celsius, down to a minimum of 73 degrees Fahrenheit, 23 degrees Celsius. Nothing striking in the visibility factors. They were all the same, 10 miles, 16 kilometers. And there were no abnormal weather conditions at the time of the event. Here is the event. While in the car, I noticed a reflective silver cylinder to the west, slowly descending through the clouds, not moving with them. In other words, it was traveling against the upper winds, heading straight down into the Gulf of Mexico. It moved so slowly, I was able to turn around to go to the end of the street facing the Gulf, so my young daughter could film it with my IG-10 phone. I have the video, and you can see the UFO clearly when she zooms in. Oh, yes, you can, gentle listeners. It was a cylinder, too far away and too big to be a balloon. Besides, a balloon would have moved with the wind, not against it, to maintain its path. We do get black helicopters flying in this area. In fact, I originally posted this to my Facebook page back on July 13th, 2016, and I tagged it UFO. But I just found out about UFOstalker.com, or I would have submitted this sooner. We're kind of down with that idea of submitting it, posting it, logging it somewhere. You never know who else in your area might have seen the same thing, and you can put your heads together and figure it out. Let's figure our way up to Salem, Oregon, where MoveOn case number 85315 took place. The date of this sighting is the 23rd of July this year, and it got a next-day report. In summary, fast-moving orb at around 3,000 feet in the sky. Viewing distance unknown, altitude over 500 feet without cloud cover. The sighting duration was 1 minute and 2 seconds. This object has features that are vaguely described as unknown. The flight path was a straight line path, and the shape of this object was sphere. There isn't any meteorology that accompanies this event, so let's just jump right into the sighting. I was sitting in my office on the second floor in my home. I have a window in front of my computer screen, and I saw a fast-moving orb. It was moving towards the southeast. There was no streak, no comet tail, and this object definitely wasn't a plane. It was moving way too fast for that. I did notice an airplane flying at roughly 32,000 feet further to the south, and I know this object wasn't anywhere near that high up. It had to be roughly around 3,000 feet up to be as small as it was, but it shined brighter than any star in the sky. When I was in my early 20s living in Michigan, I witnessed another orb, and that one dropped out of the sky straight down. That orb at that time was at least 20 miles out, and it dropped light. It looked like someone dropping a flashlight. This orb wasn't that far out, but it did remind me of the initial orb I witnessed back then. It's only been 20 minutes or so since I saw the one I'm reporting now. There might be more witnesses coming forward soon. Yep, that's a cool feature about UFOstalker.com, that comment, question section below every sighting. Here's another mysterious, unidentified city, this time in the state of Montana. MoveOn case number 85327. July 23rd, 2017 is the date of the sighting, and it was reported July 24th. There's a summary: insane amounts of activity, and one gigantic, over a mile-long mothership. Wow, there's video here, but don't be looking for that mothership. In fact, it's lots of dark black video. About 33 seconds in, there'll be a flash that will come from the bottom of your screen about a third of the way over and go up in such, well, if you blink, you miss it. That's all we can say. Sighting specifics: viewing distance over 1 mile. Altitude 500 feet or less, and then over 500 feet underneath a cloud cover, and then over 500 feet without cloud cover. The sighting duration was 1 hour. The object features unknown. Flight path, hovering, then path. And this object, well, our witness says shaped like a boomerang. Better eyes than we have. The maximum temperature was 96 degrees Fahrenheit, 36 degrees Celsius, dropping down to a minimum in that mysterious undisclosed city in Montana of 58 degrees Fahrenheit, 14 degrees Celsius. Maximum, mean, minimum visibility standards all the same, 10 miles, 16 kilometers. And at the time of this event, there didn't seem to be anything abnormal weather-wise. Here is the event. It's written more or less in phrases. Standing outside old farmhouse, just looking at the stars, noticed lots of lights. A UFO for sure. Multiple orbs darting through the sky, then one giant mothership moving, almost landing, then moving off to the west. Here's what I felt: headache, nausea, and then just utter shh. Spelled S-H-H-H. Just headed west and dissipated. And that's all the witness wrote. which is a good thing because that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to Inception Radio Network. Follow today's broadcast at UFOHeadlineNews.com or on iHeartRadio. Take care of each other. We're all in this together. This is Carol Carl. See you tomorrow.